Welcome to another episode of KKC Consulting. With me today, I have Carter. He's come all the way from Ivy, and he's actually a student intern at Mastercard. Carter, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah,
Of course. Like, how's your day been so far?
It's been good. It's been good. Quite busy. Started my internship about a month ago, but we're getting through it.
That's awesome.
Super excited. Yeah.
I mean, it's great, man. Like Mastercard, I've heard really, really great things about the place.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, of course, we'll dive into it more during the podcast itself. But good on you for securing that.
For sure. Yeah. No, it's been awesome so far. Literally nothing bad to say about it. So
awesome.
super excited. Yeah.
Now let's just move in. I know a lot about you. Do you mind giving the audience like a little synopsis about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my whole story goes back to when I was in first year. At first, I thought I wanted to do accounting because I really like the concept of using numbers to spot problems and create solutions. After, I guess, concluding my internship as a financial analyst, I realized that a lot of the accounting work that I was doing was super repetitive and, I guess, very independent in the sense that you won't get to work hand in hand with other people in your team, interact too much with your manager. And honestly, just that forward-thinking perspective that, a lot of strategy and consulting roles actually brings, where you're not analyzing the business from like a planning perspective, but you're analyzing what already happened. So that's all in all like what I wanted to experience from my second year internship, and also like going forward, or I now learned that I definitely wanted to go into consulting. Lucky enough, after joining a number of pro bono consulting clubs on campus and competing in numerous case competitions, that helped me land my role at TD, where I was actually a strategy and enablement intern for their workforce management team, where I absolutely enjoyed my time. It was essentially internal consulting in the sense that I was responsible for one project for the whole duration. And so that really fulfilled my curiosity with the forward strategy planning and consulting experience that I was looking for. And the one thing that I guess I wanted to take a step further was the client facing aspect, which is why I then wanted my third year summer internship to be something where I could experience that. Landed my internship at Mastercard, where it's been absolutely a dream, to be honest. So I have nothing bad to say about it, nothing but positive things.
Awesome.
And it's been great. Yeah.
Awesome, man. I'm super glad. Let's rewind a little bit though. So talk to me about that mindset that you had. So you came into, I want to say Western, not Ivy. You came into Western thinking, hey, I want to go into accounting. What was really that switch where you were like, I want to go consulting now?
Yeah, so I think it happened, maybe in the middle of my internship or at Manulife. Obviously, nothing bad to say about it. The company is absolutely great. It's just the fact that the work was very independent. I realized that I love interacting with people. I love speaking and meeting new people. So I think that consulting is obviously the one place that will really bring that opportunity. That essentially pushed me in the right direction, I think, and I've loved it ever since. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I actually have this one buddy. He's going to be helping me build KKC Classroom. Actually, his name's Adam, and he often says like, "Hey, it's totally okay where you want to go into, but always just make sure it's something that's aligned with your goals and your talents." Right. And I could see that with you. You're great at talking. You're great at communicating. A lot better than me. So, I mean, I'm glad you were able to realize that, hey, consulting is for me, and you were able to get it at such a prestigious firm like Mastercard. Talk to me about that process. How are you really navigating the recruitment process?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess this goes to show for every student out there, honestly. If you're trying to pursue a career in consulting, I don't think you should limit yourself with like a specific firm that you're going for. Obviously, don't have all your eggs in one basket. Apply to as many as possible, as long as you're interested, obviously. But my whole journey with Mastercard is I spoke with one person about when I was in second year, and essentially after you do a number of coffee chats, you'll get a feeling of, or like, I guess your own perception of what a firm actually is about, whether that's projects, the culture, anything about the firm. You'll learn that off of the coffee chats, which is why it's so important to do your networking ahead of time. Not only because it helps you with your application materials, but because it gives you a sense of like a genuine want for what firm you want to work in. And so I had that coffee chat with that individual, and Mastercard seems like a great place. Culture is awesome. The office is fantastic, super supportive, and the projects were even better. It really gave me the exposure that I really wanted at the end of the day. Had a background in financial services, and I think that it really lines up really well being at Mastercard. But yeah, that's a little bit about I guess how I fell into it without going into details with the interviews and all the application process. Yeah,
that's awesome, and I'm glad you shared that because at the end of the day, advice from older students, just helping in the younger students, it's very, very helpful. Can you touch on some advice that you would maybe give your younger self or just students nowadays?
Yeah, for sure. So when you're, I guess there's two pieces of advice I can give. One is going to be on, when you're starting off as maybe like a first or second year and you don't have exactly a roadmap to get into consulting, I can give advice on that. And the second piece I want to give is when you're actually going through that journey. So let's say, for example, you're in your third year, going for a third year summer recruiting. I can give a piece of advice for that. So starting with when you're in first year and second year and you don't understand, I guess, what specifically you want to do, I think the number one piece of advice I can give is, consulting at the end of the day, any past experiences can go into it. You see engineers, doctors, and all of these different professions go into consulting, even, when they're further down their careers, right? So it's something that you can explore eventually, but when you're young in your career and you're in your first and second year, I think that for those summer internships or any internship, for example, you should try to land a role in something that you're really genuinely passionate about, because not only will that give you that internal motivation to want to make you work and contribute as much as possible to that job, but it'll also help you spin a story. So when you're in third year and you're doing the recruiting, it'll come off more genuine, right? It flows more so as like a story of, here, I started here, let's say, for example, at a startup. Second year, I built on top of it, and then now I'm here wanting to be a consultant for my third year summer. So it kind of follows that chronological order of, it's following a storyline for your career, not so much as, I think this is a good building block, or not so much as I think this is a great thing that I can use for further leverage into consulting.
I see. I see.
But yeah.
Mm.
And then I guess the second piece of advice that I wanted to give is when you're actually going through recruiting, mostly this is going to apply to third years who are going through the recruiting process for their third year summers. But I think a lot of people find the process very daunting, and that is completely fair. But I think this one approach really helped me get through the process with, as less stressful as possible. One thing that I always kept in the back of my head when it comes to going through the recruiting process that really stuck with me is a quote by, I can't remember his name, but it was at a high school graduation. He basically said, Super Mario Bros. Wouldn't be as great of a game if it was jumping over one pit and saving Princess Peach. All of the pitfalls, all of the drawbacks, all of the failures really build up to that success at the end of the day. And that really resonated with me in the sense that, at the end of the day, if you consider yourself to be a hard worker and you'll put in all of the effort throughout the whole journey, trust in yourself that, at the end of the day, you'll actually get through it, and it'll make that end feeling when, you get that interview saying, oh, you got that email saying you got an interview, or that email saying you got that job, or even that phone call where they give you the offer. It'll make that moment so much more rewarding. And I think that that's ultimately the feeling that a lot of us chase, to be honest. But that's something that I would give to my younger self if I were to go back in time. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I'm very glad that you brought up the point that, hey, for your first two internships, it's not necessarily you just put in the back of your mind, hey, I'm using this internship and I'm trying to use it for leverage for the future, right? Like, of course, that's going to be a pro to having an internship. But at the end of the day, what you should really be focusing on is are the skills that you're going to learn from it, how much time and effort are you going to put into it, right? Like, if it's something you have no interest about at all whatsoever, why are you doing it, right? And with that, what's actually going to end up happening is you're going to learn so much more, and the knowledge that you have, you're going to be able to leverage for, the consulting, investment banking, whatever else jobs there are on the market. So I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, to really take another switch, you've been a part of many clubs, right? There's so many to name, but do you mind giving me a walkthrough of number one, why are clubs actually important?
Yeah, so I think the impact with consulting clubs, and I guess the pro bono consulting clubs specifically, for example, 180 Degrees Consulting, Viridian Management Consulting, and Western Management Consulting were a couple that I was a part of. The real benefit comes out of that is getting that firsthand experience in consulting. So obviously, there's not going to be that many experiences where you can actually firsthand work with a client, do some analysis with numbers that happen real time. And so having all of these experiences really gives you that exposure that you can, I guess, then use in your crafting your story in the sense that, if you get into an interview, you can literally say that you did the job in the past.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe it doesn't speak to the credentials of how good that work actually is, but at the end of the day, you got that exposure and you understand that that's the type of work that you want to do. But that would be something that's super important, or something that was really valuable when it comes to actually like getting involved in clubs. Not to say that it's the end of the world if you don't get on any, but it definitely helped me a lot. I'll also say the other thing that's really helpful with clubs is also the alumni network.
Right.
So out of the clubs that I just listed, right, there's going to be a number of people who have been a part of the club in past years, maybe even the same position that you have currently, who are off to do great things in consulting or any profession, to be honest. And the odds of them reaching, or the odds of them actually being receptive to you reaching out is pretty likely, in my opinion. So I think that also gives you the opportunity to speak with people in the past who have worked your role.
Mm-hmm. And you know, you're right, because my second episode was with Emmanuel Yusuf, and he founded 180 Degrees York.
Oh,
And
nice.
he brought it back into York University. So what's very interesting was he was almost like my main reason that I was able to become VP of the club now. And it's so interesting because these networks, they really build over time.
Right.
Maybe you have, like, if I'm being very honest with you, I had no idea how valuable club experiences were, especially in like August,
Right.
before first year even started. I had no idea how valuable they were. I had no idea how impressive it is to be like the president of a club. I had no idea how impressive it was to be the founder of a club.
Yeah.
Right? But just talking to him and being able to focus on the networking aspect rather than just saying like, hey, can you give me a referral for this club?
Yeah.
It allowed for, I mean, number one, a really cool podcast, but number two, you know, in the future, he just offered it like, hey, you want to join? You know, you're doing some cool stuff. We'd love to have you on.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a nice segue.
That's awesome that you got to connect with them, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's good that you realized that value early. Obviously, it's not the end of the world. In my first year, I wasn't a part of any clubs, to be honest. But it seems like you've done a lot of great things on those
No,
clubs, to be
man,
honest.
I
So
appreciate it.
tip my
I
hat to
appreciate
you.
it. And you know, it's interesting because even using clubs to prove that you can actually do the job. One thing I was very scared about, Carter, and I'll tell you this. I was scared that, okay, I'd go into consulting, I'd work all the 4 years, I just work really, really hard, and then I'd finally get the job, and turns out I don't like the job at all. And that's what I'm very scared about. And then I realized there's two ways to mitigate that. Number one, I get internships related to that. So worst case scenario, let's say third year, I get the consulting internship, I can pivot into something else in fourth year. Or number two, and I like the solution a lot more, I could just join like a pro bono consulting organization and actually do the work. So now I know, okay, consulting's like probably going to be 70% of what I'm working on right now. And you know, I'm glad you highlighted that because for me it was really important just to be able to really identify like, hey, I like consulting.
Right. Yeah. I think it does give you that good idea of what consulting on a day-to-day aspect is going to be. I guess that in addition to case competitions is pretty much like accelerated projects that you'll actually simulate going through a consulting progress. So I think it's great experience, especially if you want to get first-hand experience. You know, maybe at the end of the day, it's not for everyone, but it'll give you that good experience to understand if you actually want to or not.
You touched on something really interesting, case competitions.
Okay.
And, you know, you've been a part of so many. I could go on and on about the ones that you have been a part of. But talk to me about why did you want to go into case competitions and what were the benefits of it?
For sure. Yeah. I think the very first one I did was actually like a couple months into my first year. My roommate is very proactive and ahead of the game with business. So he dragged me out and he said, hey, let's do this case competition. Like, it's great experience. I know down the road you might want to do consulting, and this will give you a great experience to see whether or not you actually like it. I said, okay, why not? I don't have anything else to do on this Saturday. So I did it. We ended up getting second place, but I thought it was an amazing experience, right? Essentially for that one, it's a 24-hour sprint where you get a prompt.
I see.
You have 24 hours to work through that, build a slide deck, and then present it to a couple judges. But I think that's really, really good experience to know also if you want to go into consulting. It's very low barriers to entry. Anyone can sign up and, you know, give it a try. But it's also a really good experience to, for example, hopefully if you win them, because then not only will you build relationships to, for example, firm partners who are sponsoring that case competition, but you'll also get that on your resume, which then you can explain later in your interviews where they'll ask, tell me about a time where you faced a difficult problem. This can be an example of one of the answers that you give to those questions. So that's something that also can help build on top of, the many things that you're doing in your university career. But something that really helped me realize early, and I'm super thankful to that friend who really dragged me out on that Saturday.
Oh, that's great. And you know what? I sound like a broken record saying this, but it really does add up, right? That one friend dragged you out, and then you realize, hey, I like this, and it's pretty fun. You did another one and another one. You kept going and on, on and on and on. And then now you have some skills that are irreplaceable because in case competitions, the really cool stuff is that it's not only consulting work, it's also just public speaking, right? And, one of the main reasons I started this podcast was because I was an introvert. And then I was like, hey, I'll just burst my own bubble. Let me, just be as uncomfortable as possible. Start a podcast and, just being able to put myself out there. I feel like my speaking skills have got a ton better.
Yeah.
Just thinking on the spot. I usually don't say filler words anymore as well. So all those things, it really does add up. And I'm glad you shared your experiences with case competitions as well.
Yeah. That's really impressive, Amar. I gotta say,
Thank you.
putting yourself
Thank
in
you.
that position, especially as a first year, and giving yourself that exposure is awesome. And
I
I can definitely
appreciate
tell that it paid off.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, man. I really do appreciate it. Let's jump into another category that I feel is, in my opinion, the most important part to break into consulting and investment banking.
Sure.
Try to take a wild guess as to what it is.
Interview process?
No.
Okay,
I was
fair
going to
enough.
say networking.
Okay, got it.
Networking. So talk to me about networking. And honestly, I'll just toss the mic. I won't ask any questions.
Yeah. So I think the one guiding principle that really helped me with networking is generally just being genuine, right? We're all people at the end of the day, and the people that you're talking to are people at the end of the day as well. They were once in your shoes, they were once your age. So I think having that mindset when you go into a chat and not putting them on a pedestal is not only going to give you the confidence to speak to them and articulate a conversation that flows genuinely, but it's also going to give you the sense that you'll ask genuine questions that you're curious about. You'll give responses, and you'll, I guess, react in a way that it builds a genuine relationship with someone,
Right.
not on just trying to get a referral basis, but a connection with someone on like a friendly basis, right? And I think that mindset allowed me to have a lot better conversations. At the end of the day, I really hated approaching coffee chats with the mindset of I want a referral. I want this person so I can mention them on my resume. I think it also makes the process a lot easier if you have the mindset of, oh, I'm genuinely curious about meeting this individual, right? I definitely see that in yourself as well. And that, when you reached out to me, especially to be on this podcast as well, it came out of genuinity. So I think that's definitely something that really helps. And I guess like building off of that as well, networking events. This is something that a lot of people hate, and I don't blame them, to be honest, but I think that mindset of, being genuine, treating other people as if, like they're once in your shoes, really flips that switch in people's heads to the fact that, it turns it from somewhere where, it's scary, I ask questions that I don't even want to ask, and turns it into something that, you can walk away from the event thinking, yeah, that was awesome to meet this individual. I really learned a lot. I think that really helped me when it came to networking. So yeah, just being genuine. The other tip I would say is networking at the end of the day, I feel like is a numbers game, right?
Fair.
Only so much can, get thrown into that email, LinkedIn message, or whatever you're reaching out. You can only explain so much about yourself to make them want to speak with you, but maybe they're busy or something happens, right? So I think it's a numbers game in the sense that you have to try enough times, not too much, try enough times, and all you need is one real connection with someone to really like portray your story about why maybe you like this XYZ firm.
And I love that approach so much. At the beginning, I used to really just do it like a numbers game.
Right.
I would just send out messages to everyone. Perhaps I wasn't the most curious about their story. Was just talking to them, talking. Not that I want a referral or anything, but just to have it like, okay, I did this coffee chat. It's done, finished.
Yeah.
But as soon as I flipped my switch and I was like, listen, why am I doing this? Like, I'm wasting my time, their time, everyone's time.
Right.
Why don't I just become genuinely interested in whoever I'm talking to? And then from there, I could just reach out to them. It becomes such an easier conversation.
Right.
And I love the point where you said that at the end of the day, everyone's human,
Mhm.
right? You're not going to meet someone who hates puppies, for example, right? You're going to find people. Everyone has, you know, most people hate certain things. Most people like certain things. So honestly, at the end of the day, like just tug on the things that they really like.
Yeah.
There's there's several people I could name, but some people like we really just bonded over food.
Yeah.
The entire chat, I didn't ask them about the recruitment process. I didn't ask about anything. I just saw they were eating ramen. And I was like, hey, I love ramen.
Yeah.
Right. And the rest of the chat, it went so well that, they came on the podcast. Everything just went upwards from there. So I
Yeah.
agree with that. And then the third thing about networking events, like, listen, I don't have the best habit of, going to networking events necessarily. But the one time I did go, I met this really cool dude. His name is Dennis Goria. He's the founder and CEO of Tidal Commerce. He was just there promoting his own business. And he was actually the third episode of the podcast.
Nice.
So that only happened because I actually went to the networking event. And if I'm being very honest with you, I slipped in.
Okay, fair enough.
But,
yeah.
If I never met him, if I never spoke to him, if I was never genuinely interested in him, if I'm not mistaken, he was the only person I talked to from that networking event. Yeah, just because he just had the colorful colors on it and the banner and everything. But, I really do resonate with that. I think it's just plain out stupid to talk to someone without having genuine curiosity. And I'm saying this from a place of like experience. Like I've gone through that, rather than just me saying, hey, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you got that point of realization as early as you did.
Mm-hmm.
It helps a lot of people. It breaks down that mental barrier of trying to approach networking as something that's daunting and turning it into something that's actually fun.
It is fun. It's very fun.
But no, I'm super glad to hear that you've experienced that way.
I appreciate it.
But also at the end of the day, business is a people's person. Or at the end of the day, business is a people's thing, right? Sure, maybe there's fields where you don't have to interact with others too much, but if you're trying to go into consulting, investment banking, it's something that you'll have to learn how to be comfortable with meeting new people every day, interacting with new people, working new teams. But I think it's the first step to many, for sure. Yeah.
And like, I really feel that at the end of the day, networking is so similar to so many other aspects. Like, number one, sales.
Right.
If you're going into sales and you don't know how to talk to a person, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. It really is, aside from the conversation, just the fact that, okay, can you hold a conversation with someone? Like, I would like to say that you throw me in a room with someone random and I'd be able to spark up some sort of conversation with them.
Right.
Unless I wasn't feeling it.
Fair enough.
But, and I feel it's a really important skill because at the end of the day, there's going to be so many options and so many opportunities, sorry. And I've felt this just personally in my own life where you meet someone accidentally, it turns out there's someone super awesome and maybe you want them to come on the podcast, for example. Right? If you weren't really talkative, or I want to say more of a people's person, it would be very hard to just get them on the podcast and it would just close down so many doors. Yeah.
And that's not to say that introverts can't obviously go into these roles, right?
Introverts 100% can,
I guess it's part of going outside of your comfort zone. I think if you want to do something big with your life, then that's going to be inevitable, whether you do it earlier or later. Hopefully you'll get the opportunity to do it earlier, right? So I think that's, that makes sense.
Fair. Now let's talk more about, we had a very highline overview of clubs and why you pursued them.
Right.
But talk to me about some more of the benefits of clubs and why they would necessarily really help you in the interview process.
For sure. Yeah. So I guess a good example of what I can tell you is pro bono consulting. So usually the structure is going to go consultant, team lead, VP, and then CEO or president. I think no matter what role that you become a part of, you'll obviously have something that you can speak about in your interviews. So consultants, you're getting that firsthand experience of what it's like to be at that entry-level role where you're actually doing the analysis, you're presenting to clients, you're building a slide deck, etc. So that's really good. Project manager takes it a step above where you're then managing these teams of consultants. And so you're leading a client conversation, you're understanding what types of questions to ask, which is very super important. It also when you're in consulting, right? So understanding, how do you conduct yourself, the formalities, and the professionalism that goes into consulting, taking a step above VP, where you'll manage a number of different people and get to build the leadership skills that are necessary when it comes to being able to speak, understanding what tasks goes into completing a good project, etc. And then obviously CEO is something where I was able to, I guess, I saw it as an opportunity to make a real impact with and turn it from where it once was, where it once had 200 followers and only 50 applications, and within 1 year and um, a lot of different initiatives and hiring a great team to help me alongside with it. We turned it into something where it had 700 followers and we had
Wow.
over 300 applications to be a part of the team. So,
Wow.
yeah, I think seeing the role that you're provided is not just something that you should think about like, oh, it'll be good for my resume, but also something that is an opportunity to make a real impact.
Yeah.
And I think that, I guess, any role that you approach with that perspective of thinking about what kind of impact you want to deliver at the end of the day, if you choose to accept it, is going to help you, I guess, understand like what you want to do with it at the end of the day.
And
Yeah.
just the impact part, I want to touch on that very quickly. It's so true. Because at the end of the day, if you're going only on experiences on the basis that, hey, I'm going to talk about this in an interview once, number one, the experience isn't going to be that valuable to you because you're only doing it for, the experience. Rather, if you really just dedicate time towards it, you're trying to build something awesome, then you start to realize, like, I mean, number one is fun. Sure, you need like discipline when it comes to it, as for everything, but it just really allows you to level up your game and learn so much more. And I'll give you an example. For KKC, I put out a post saying that there was internship hirings, right? And I didn't think too much of it. I was just like, hey, okay, like one or two people would apply. Like, man, like 690 people applied. It was
Wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
it was crazy. Like obviously it wasn't like actually applied. It was just comments under the LinkedIn post.
Right.
So not as impressive as your thingy. Like I don't know how you got 300 people, but the point that I'm trying to bring across is essentially now that I'm managing a team, I realize that this isn't about me anymore. It's not about, okay, I'll talk about this in an interview one time. Now it's about, okay, I have some more responsibilities because now other people are going to have KKC in their LinkedIn profiles. KKC is going to mean something more than just to me.
Yeah.
Right. And just building out that process, working on the app, the other stuff, and whatever else there might be, it's special. And I could see like you have the same passion for your pro bono consulting as well.
Yeah. No, that's awesome to hear that you got that much traction when it comes to like actually running KKC. That's
Job
awesome.
market's cooked, man.
Yeah, that's fair. That's really cool to hear though. That you're doing awesome things with the platform and
Thank you.
super excited to see what's gonna come, to be honest. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Now let's dive into the future.
Cool.
Gonna split this into two buckets. Number one, talk to me about your future in fourth year of, I want to say second year of Ivy, fourth year of Western.
Right. Yeah. So throughout the school year, I'm also part of the Ivy Consulting Club. So essentially, there's a team of 9 of us who lead the consulting initiatives on campus throughout Ivy. So that's mostly for HBA ones, which we like to call the first year Ivies. We run a bunch of the initiatives, so I'm super excited to be a part of that. I'm actually running the conferences and hosting those, so a lot of logistics and planning goes into that. But super excited to run that. I'm also going on exchange to Singapore in January.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm really excited for that as well, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a buddy, his name's Hader. He actually went to Singapore
Oh, no way.
for his exchange as well. And he said that it's a gorgeous place, and he recommended I go there for exchange as well.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't experienced it obviously, but so far I've heard only good things about it, to be honest. Sure, maybe it's like a little bit of a smaller country that you'll explore within a week, but
just the area. Like what he said was really important was the fact that no matter where you're living, you're so close to the city.
Right.
And you could just like walk there or take a bus or something, and it's nice. It's nice. You have like nice weather, nice people. The food's pretty nice as well. So I mean, I think that's what he enjoyed. Are you going with any friends?
No, but I'm going with 8 other people from Ivy. So they send 9 of us out.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's pretty cool. So are you gonna be like living with them as well?
I believe it's like we apply for residence. So it's basically as if you're in first year again. You're living through res,
Oh,
you're
I see,
eating the
I see.
cat food, and
Yeah.
you're going to the classes. So it's Ivy does their exchange in an interesting way where it's literally your last semester of university that you go on exchange. So it's kind of like a full circle moment where you start university being on
Oh,
res
I see,
and you
I see.
also end it on being on res, but just maybe in a different country. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I'm super excited.
No,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. Something really interesting is Andrew's actually hopping on the podcast as well.
Oh, no way.
Andrew Yang,
That's
so the
awesome.
president of ICC, which is really,
Yeah.
really cool.
He's awesome. He's amazing, to be honest. Like honestly, wouldn't ask for a better leader for the club, to be honest.
That's sick.
He's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
really great because I mean, just leadership in general, and you probably felt this with Viridian as well,
Mm.
if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
So leadership is such an important trait. I had no idea, and I was actually talking to this one woman today. She got a MBA from Ivy as well. Her name's Sudhav. And she told me that, and this is so interesting, completely off tangent.
Okay.
She mentioned that there's certain psychologies for oldest child, middle child, and youngest child.
Okay.
And those psychology, you could implement that into hiring. And she said that every single time she's had to hire someone, lead someone, she could literally see the psychology being at play over there.
Wow.
It's such an interesting thing. I asked for some like I wanted to read up on it, so hopefully next time you come on the podcast, I'll have some more
Interesting.
credible claims to give you.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of fascinating things, to be honest. Like understanding the psychology of what goes on in business is
Mhm.
definitely one of the things that, if you can actually master and understand, then you'll be golden. But again, it takes a lot of effort to understand. But yeah.
Psychology is so important.
Yeah.
So important. Like it, no matter what your sales, consulting, investment banking, tech sales, just tech in general,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, psychology is such an important play.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And maybe hopefully they offer that course there at Schulich, but do they offer
Oh, like a psychology course?
Yeah, yeah, or like psychology and business.
I'm not too sure. I know that York has a psychology course.
Okay,
I've definitely been like thinking about taking the course,
right.
but I'm just gonna have to ask like alumni like how they found it and go from there.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
And like moving on, going back to the whole podcast,
Yeah.
let's talk more about advice. We went over like an overview of it, but and I always love asking this question.
Sure.
If you had a time machine, you could go back in time to talk to your first year or second year self. What advice would you give them and why?
Yeah, I think so. The two main pieces of advice that I gave already earlier in this podcast was do something that you're genuinely passionate about for your internship or club experiences, and then the other was have fun along the ride and don't take it as anxious as possible.
Those two pieces of advice are definitely very important. I can resonate with both of them, and I truly do feel that being passionate is one of, if not the most important aspect to breaking into a career that you like, right? But with that, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate you for your time and for your advice and insights. I'm sure the audience agrees as well. And turning back to the audience, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Please tune in for next week. This time I do know who the guest is, but we'll keep it as a surprise for when you guys tune in for next Thursday. Thank you very much.